I urge you, again, before I continue here, to join the National Rifle Association and join the California Rifle and Pistol Association. And every time I say that, somebody says the NRA sucks and blah, blah, blah. Well, some of those folks that say that are nothing more than trolls trying to get you to not get involved. So I want to encourage you, get involved. Now, some of the folks that say that are legitimately disgruntled with the National Rifle Association and feel like they don't do anything. I want to just remind you that the battle that the NRA and other organizations like Gun Owners of California, Gun Owners of America, the Second Amendment Foundation, the National Shooting Sports Foundation, the Firearms Policy Center, and so on. Those are all organizations that are doing their best to fight these kinds of things, but they're fighting against billionaires. You've got Michael Bloomberg, who makes more money in a year, in 1 year. That guy has personally more income in 1 year than the National Rifle Association has taken in since the day it was started over 100 years ago. I mean, in 1 year, he takes in more money than they've ever collected in the entire history of the organization. So, and then because he's a private donor, he doesn't have all these restrictions on him. The NRA can only donate so much as a corporate entity, because of campaign laws and finance laws and so on. As a private donor, he can do whatever he wants. He also, so you know, it's a battle that cannot be easily won. I would encourage you to check out my website. I'm going to put up probably tomorrow an article linking to an article on in one of the NRA magazines I found very interesting that detailed all of the successes that they've had around the country in the last year or two. It's very impressive, actually. Now, have those been applied to California? No, but some of those things are like dominoes. You got to knock this one down before you can get to that one, and so on. And there's a strategy behind it. I don't fully understand it. I'm just encouraging you in some form to get involved. If that's not the NRA, then fine. Get involved with Gun Owners of California or Gun Owners of America or the Second Amendment Foundation or whatever. But join one of them, help out, get involved, because this stuff is getting worse and worse, and it's spreading around the country. All right, that's my sales pitch. I'm not going to get into that anymore. Here we go. All right, authorized purchases and permits. Starting January 1, 2019, you will be required to apply for and to have a permit to purchase ammunition in the state of California. That's right, you're going to have a permit. Now, there are some people who are exempt, ammo vendors, obviously. Certain federal firearms licensees are exempt. I guess some are and some aren't, and I don't know who's who. Purchases at target facilities where you're buying ammo and you're going to shoot it up at the facility. A gunsmith or wholesaler, they're exempt. Federally licensed manufacturers or importers of ammunition. Authorized law enforcement representatives when purchasing for their law enforcement agency. This is interesting. Sworn law enforcement officers, provided they have proper ID and a letter from the head of their agency authorizing that specific particular purchase of ammunition. Which means every time a cop wants to go buy ammunition personally, if without a permit, that officer has to identify themselves as law enforcement and have a letter from their chief or their sheriff or the director of their federal agency saying they can purchase that particular ammunition at that particular time. That's insane, but it is what it is. I mean, that's what they're doing here. There is no exemption for retired law enforcement, so if you're retired law enforcement, sorry, you're like everybody else. It is what it is. There's no exemption for you with regard to that. All right, the other details I'll put up here for you. It's valid for 4 years. If you become prohibited by the Department of Justice for some reason, you're a felon or whatever, then the Department of Justice will jerk your permit. You can't buy it anymore. You got to be 18 years of age or older. You cannot be prohibited from owning firearms or ammunition, and the permit can cost you as much as $50 to get a permit to buy ammunition. $50 in order for you to exercise your Second Amendment right. Now, as if all of that wasn't bad enough, the state, in this law, Gavin Newsom, sorry, that may take several of those to get that guy's name out of my mouth. That guy wrote this law in such a way that there is no state preemption that would require local authorities to obey the law and not write worse laws. In fact, Proposition 63 specifically states that nothing in the proposition shall preempt any local ordinance that goes farther than Proposition 63 did. So they've essentially given carte blanche to every city, county, local municipality to completely outlaw the purchase of ammunition and get away with it, because there's nothing in state law that preempts that. Typically, state law preempts local laws if local laws go farther or do more or do the opposite of what state law says. But in this particular case, this particular proposition specifically gives authority to local and county and city authorities to write whatever ordinances they want that go farther and do more damage than Proposition 63 did. So a local city or local county can pass ordinances that make the purchase of ammunition absolutely impossible if they want to, and you can't fight it on a state preemption basis. The people vote for this stuff and they don't know what's in it. And then they go afterwards, they go, how come I got to do this? Well, you say, well, knucklehead, what'd you vote for that for? And there you are. Hence the reason why we have gun organizations that people can join where they can find out about this stuff and then not vote for it. But unfortunately, as I said, we got about 8 or 10 million gun owners in the state who don't bother to be informed. And then they vote for this stuff and wish they hadn't afterwards. And that's how this stuff happens. All right, now there are some conflicts with Gunmageddon, and nobody knows which one's going to take priority. The Gunmageddon was the, Senate Bill 1235, that was the ammunition part of that, and then Proposition 63 made some changes. Here's the conflicts. Nobody knows which way it's going to go. The lost firearm theft of a firearm reporting thing. Well, that also included in Proposition 63 and Senate Bill 1235 requirements for vendors to report ammunition that was lost or stolen. And in Proposition 63, it gets down to 1 round. So if you're a vendor of ammunition, you're a store, and you cannot account for 1 round out of a box of ammunition, you have to report that. And if you don't, there's a serious penalty involved. Senate Bill 1235 did not include that. So that's one conflict. In Senate Bill 1235, did you have to report 1 round missing? No. Proposition 63, you do. And again, nobody knows which one's going to prevail. Background checks are somewhat different and very, very confusing. And I explained some of that and gave myself a headache in the process. And nobody knows who's going to prevail there. That all gets to be kind of wrung out, probably in court, I would imagine, because if there are not court cases fighting each and every aspect of this law, I will be stunned. And in fact, I know for a fact that they're in the queue, and I'm hoping that they hit here pretty soon. We'll see. It's going to be a while before these laws go into effect, so maybe we can stop them before they go. There's always a chance. SB 1235 may do away with the permit altogether. The permit, I said, was required in favor of a background check computer system because, as I said, they're competing. Nobody knows which one's going to prevail. And so you might have to get a permit, well, and you might not. I don't know. As again, which one of these things is going to go which way? Nobody knows. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to flip the page here because this I found really interesting. There's all these restrictions. You cannot import ammunition into the United States. You can't import ammunition into the state of California from out of state if you're Californian. If you're a resident of California, you can't go out of state and buy it and bring it in. It's against the law. If you're a Californian, you can't sell ammunition to anybody, any more than 500 rounds, unless it's to your wife, son, daughter, whatever, or significant other, domestic partner, that kind of thing. That's it. However, there's no prohibition against you giving ammunition away. So you can't sell them a box of ammunition, but you can give them a case. Okay, likewise, I cannot, as a Californian, go into Arizona and buy ammunition and bring it into the state of California. It's illegal. But if I have a buddy who lives in Arizona or Nevada or some other state, they want to come to California and bring ammunition, they can do it because California law doesn't restrict them from doing that. So they can go buy ammunition all they want to and bring it into the state. So what prevents me, or anybody else for that matter, from saying to my buddy, hey, do me a favor, would you pick me up 1,000 rounds of whatever, and when you come to town next time, if you could bring it to me, I'd really appreciate it. And he brings this, my buddy brings it, and he gives it to me. That's perfectly legal. He can buy it out of state, he can bring it here and give it to me. Right? No money changed hands. There was no purchase involved. Maybe 3 months later or 2 weeks later or whatever, I can say to my buddy, hey, you know what? You know that money I borrowed from you a few months ago? Let me pay you back. And now I give him some money. And you know what? That was a loan from him to me, right? I mean, he handed me the money. I handed it back. Well, in actuality, I'm paying him for the ammo. I mean, let's get real. But who can prove it? How do you prove that? You can't. And that's where all these laws have done is create a black market in ammunition. That's all they've done. They're not going to keep a single criminal from committing a crime. They're not going to commit anybody from doing anything they wish to do. And Californians who have friends out of state are going to do exactly what I just described, and they've prevented exactly nothing. And besides which, the Californians that are going to do that are law-abiding citizens that ought to be able to go down and buy ammunition without all this draconian garbage in the first place. Don't get me started. All right. There's a couple more provisions of the law. Let me go over those. Confiscating firearms. As of January 1, 2018, this law allows law enforcement to seek a warrant to confiscate firearms when a person is convicted of a crime which prohibits that person from firearms ownership. All right, let me put this up on the screen for you because you're not going to believe it. In the state of California, simple battery, that's right, I'm not talking about assault with a deadly weapon, I'm not talking about anything else. I'm talking about you shove somebody or you poke somebody in the nose or whatever the case might be. Simple battery carries a 10-year firearms ownership prohibition, which means you get in a little bit of a tussle at the bar and or you get in an argument with your buddy at his house and the cops come and they arrest you for battery, simple battery. You cannot own a firearm in the state of California for 10 years, which means that now the state, as of January 1, 2018, can get a warrant to come to your house and go in your house and search for the firearms they have on record for you and take them from you. They couldn't do that before, but now they can do that. They can get a warrant, come bang on your door, and search for those guns. Before, they would have to come knock on your door and ask for permission to come in. Now they can get a warrant easily because this law has changed. Watch this. In family law, when somebody's getting a divorce, it is a routine thing in the state of California for attorneys to file domestic violence complaints against the other side simply to gain an advantage. It doesn't matter. You may never have had any kind of a violent episode in your life ever, and yet the other attorney is going to complain that you committed some domestic violence crime, and if they do that, if you get charged with it, well, there's a prohibition. For that matter, if they simply get a temporary restraining order against you, you cannot own firearms or possess firearms or ammunition in the state of California during the life of that temporary restraining order. Which means the minute you're on that restraining order, the state of California can get a warrant and come to your house and walk in your house and take every last one of your firearms. And let me clue you onto something right now. The moment the state gets their hands on those firearms, you will never see them again. Ever. And if you do want to see them again, it will cost you a fortune in legal fees far beyond the value of those firearms. And the state knows it. This is why I keep telling people, if you have an AR-15, make it featureless, don't register it. If you can possibly legally avoid registering a firearm, do it. If you can possibly legally avoid letting the state know every round of ammunition you ever bought, and every brand of ammunition you ever bought, and every caliber of ammunition you ever bought, do it. Because once you're in a database, it's ready for these kinds of abuses. And that's precisely what they want to do. They want to know where all the guns are so they can figure out a way for some minor little crime, like you shoved your buddy or he shoved you, and now you can't own a firearm, and they can come take them. You will never see them again. This is what Proposition 63 has done. That's as of January 1, 2008. So we got a year to figure this out and make sure that this doesn't happen. All right, now it also amended Proposition 47, way back when Proposition 47 raised the threshold for grand theft to $950, which meant that anything stolen worth less than that amount was considered petty theft, and anything worth more than that amount was considered grand theft. The problem with that is that there are many guns out there that are not worth $950, and the state wanted to make sure that the theft of a firearm was a felony in each and every case, which means that firearm could be worth $50, and it is still a felony because it's a firearm. Well, there you have it. There's the there's the bit on Proposition 63. Yeah, and people say, well, I don't want to live in California. I understand. People tell me, move, move, move. Okay, well, I'm not going to move. I'm going to stay and fight. So you might as well just quit telling me to move because I'm going to stay and fight. Now, you may think I'm an idiot, and that's okay. I get it. You wouldn't be the first person to think I'm an idiot. You probably won't be the last. But I'm going to stay and fight the battle. And if you're going to stay and fight with me, I want to urge you to please join the National Rifle Association. I've got links in the description for you to do that. Watch the webinars on the California Rifle and Pistol Association website. By the way, those two organizations are linked at the hip. The NRA supports CRPA, and CRPA has grown and changed a lot. It used to be kind of a good old boys club. Now it's really an activist group, and they're working very hard to change these laws in California. And if you watch the website on CRPA, you will notice a lot of things going on, and you'll see some legal battles coming up. There's going to be a lot of them. And now with Donald Trump as president, hopefully we'll have some very Second Amendment, pro-Second Amendment justices on the federal bench in various places, as well as on the Supreme Court. Now, if you have any questions about these laws, please feel free to send me notes and so on. I will answer them to the best of my ability, but I want to remind you, I'm not an attorney, so if I say I don't know, if I don't know, I'm just going to tell you I don't know, and I'll try to point you in a direction where you can find out the information. Now, the next few videos I do are going to be gun videos. I got to do these for you because we need that information out, but I got to get to the range and shoot a little bit. So you can look for a video. I've got to get part 2 done on the optic I put on my Sega rifle. I have some new stuff that Optics Planet sent me for my AR. I also have some items that I can use on an AR to make it California compliant. We're going to review some of those. Plus I have a classic old rifle and some classic old handguns that we're going to do some stuff with, and some crazy ammunition a manufacturer sent me. All of those are coming up right here on GunGuy TV. Thank you again for watching. Please subscribe. That's what this little button up here is for, and that way we'll let you know when new videos come out. Have a great week, and thank you very much again. Be safe.